We're here because we're gonna finally show you Project Homecoming. And I know everybody has been waiting for this, but we can actually jump right into the game and show you the monsters fighting against each other. So we have the Legend and the Unseen Elder. And this is, of course, one of the boards. Of course, we'll have faction-specific boards. So you will have ones for Scoia'tael, for Skellige, for Northern Realms, and for Nilfgaard. And of course, specific boards for Thronebreaker, which are really, really awesome. But before we show you those, we're going to show you monsters first. So let's start off by moving on to the mulligan screen. As you can see, we're able to mulligan some cards.
Yeah, the thing that you can, the difference that you can see almost immediately is whenever you mulligan a card, it doesn't go immediately to the deck. It's basically being put on the side, and that's basically it. The cards will go back to the deck as soon as you close the mulligan screen. The other thing that you probably noticed is that you have much more charges of mulligans than before, because before we kept it to 3 on the first round and 1 on the second and the third one, right?
Yes, exactly.
And now they are actually tied to the leaders, and not only leaders. Additionally, person who goes first will get 1 additional charge of mulligan, or maybe 2. We'll see. That's still subject to change. But the mulligans are tied to the leaders, and the number of them depends on the power of their ability.
Yeah, but you also have to remember that now you have a hand limit of 10 cards, right? That's also something that is there. So you need to think about how you distribute these mulligans, because you'll be drawing cards in between rounds, and I think it's 3 cards, and when you move on to the second, and then the third one you also get to draw 3 cards, but only if you
again, this is still subject to change,
10.
because this is what we're trying right now, and it works for us, but we'll see.
Cool. Yeah, so let's stop for a minute, because let's just look at the visuals, because as we promised in the letter by Marcin Iwiński and the Gwen team, the idea was pretty much to have everything look a lot more darker, greedier, have the Witcher 3 feel. As you can see, we have this feel over here, and I also mentioned, like previously on the forums, that we're doing something different with leaders and changing the way they will be working. And as you can see, leaders are present on the battlefield. So we have the Unseen Elder and the Woodland Spirit, who is filling in for Dagon, which is currently gone. So as you can see, this looks just incredible. I'm really happy that we can actually show it to you. What do you think about the look overall?
I mean, what do I think, or what was our goal when we were, doing it?
Let's talk about both.
Okay, so what do I think? I actually think it looks amazing. As you can see, the board is actually bigger because we got rid of the side preview on the right, because we don't need it anymore, as the tooltips that we introduced are more like, pop-up tooltips, like dynamic tooltips. If you hover over any card,
show those and hover over the cards, and you'll be able to see that.
Yeah.
When you actually hover over a card, you get the preview and the tooltip for it. We'll also have a big preview, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But let's address the elephant in the room.
not visual change.
The 2 rows change. And how does this affect gameplay in the game? Because this is like a very, very big concern for the community. So let's talk about what 2 rows actually. What enabled it for you and your team to do?
Yeah, okay, so the goal behind the 2 rows was to actually put more focus on the row identity. Because this allowed us to actually create a bit more complicated abilities without making the tooltips, like obscure and crazy. Therefore, what you can expect from now on in Gwynt are abilities like let's call it the row restricted abilities, because we're not restricting you from playing the card on any row you want to, but some of the abilities will only trigger on certain rows. And you'll be able to, you'll have even cards that have different abilities on melee and on ranged row. I know that that this was requested by the community for a long time, but basically with 3 rows it was really, really hard to actually do something that will be both interesting, balanced, and on the top of that, the tooltip will be clean and will not, take, half of the screen when you're reading it.
And just to jump in, I really like this idea, because there are some units, for example, when you play them and when you play them on melee, they hit for 4. Let's say, of course, these are not proper, let's say, numbers, because all these things are subject to change. But if you place it on the range row, it does for damage, but you can split it
Yeah.
on different units, so on 4 different units, so you just proc them all by one, which is really, really cool because it opens up a whole new space when you design cards. And I really like this. The same with cards that, for example, might do damage or might boost depending on where they're placed. That's really, really cool. Also, the cards received a major overhaul, and I'm not only talking about the visuals, of course I'm also talking about gameplay, but let's focus on the first parts of the visuals. They have a new frame for it, also a lot more darker. The art is exposed a lot more, and it feels right at home with the redesigned board. What do you think about these?
Again, I really, really love them. I much prefer this look than to the old look because it just makes art more prominent. It makes art pop out more.
As we can see, there are gold cards, there are bronzes, but where are the silvers, Luigi?
I knew this was coming. So yeah, there are no silver cards anymore. Let me tell you why, because this, can cause outrage that we're cutting and cutting.
Homecoming, right?
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
we're going back to the roots. Witcher 3.
I mean, yeah, that's basically it, because we created silver cards back in the days. I think it was, early beta, like really early beta. We created them for the balancing purposes. Because, we couldn't have just golds and bronzes, because we couldn't have, anything in between. And right now, with the introduction of of the army limit system, I think you actually already leaked.
Yes, I talked that you have a restriction on the amount of cards you can put in your deck, and decks are constructed of the 30 cards. Yeah.
Yeah. So with this system, we actually don't need silvers anymore because they are exactly the same as gold cards. And again, this is coming back to The Witcher 3, where Gvint had only bronze and gold cards.
So maybe let's jump to the big preview of a card, and this card is actually wounded, and it has something called the base power of the card, something very requested by the community.
Yeah, you were requesting that a lot in the last months, actually not only last month, last years actually. Yeah, we wanted to give it to you. Right now, if you preview the card, like if you go for the big preview, you will see the card's base power and the card's current power.
Let's maybe move on to the VFX. We'll actually show one of the cards doing damage. As you can see, there's like a fireball effect moving through. And yeah, this is something cool. I know that the VFX team is working really, really hard, and they're making like really cool VFXs for the weather, because weather stays, right?
Yes.
So,
but I just wanted to notice that with each statement, you could just sum up everything that, every visual received a major overhaul, because basically we're going.
Well, yes, but now we can
one.
actually like show all the visuals, which is really, really cool, and I'm really, really excited for these, because you and the whole team, they kicked ass just to get this done.
Remember that visuals are not the only thing that is getting the overhaul, because, for instance, audio is getting it as well. It's really hard to display, especially when we're talking. But everything is receiving a major overhaul, so the quality of the game should improve drastically.
Luigi, thank you as always for joining me here in the studio, and let's wait for the next update. See you guys. Bye.
See ya.